When I truly learned how to set boundaries, I noticed that people often interpreted this as an attack. But that interpretation is backwards. I didn't confront anyone, I didn't accuse anyone, I didn't punish anyone, I just disengaged. For people who are accustomed to having access to you, your attention, your emotional labor, your availability, disengagement feels like a loss of control. And instead of recognizing that discomfort as their own, they externalize it. If someone believes they are entitled to you, your boundary doesn't feel neutral to them. It feels like rejection or punishment or some sort of abandonment. So they reinterpret your absence as intentional harm. This is where the idea of retaliation comes from. Once your boundary is framed as an attack, it gives them permission, in their own mind, of course, to attack you back. They justify harassment, accusations, or retaliation as just defending themselves against something that you never actually did. That's how distorted power dynamics protect themselves. Disengagement is not aggression. Silence is not violence. Distance is not abuse. What people experience as abandonment or attack when you set boundaries is often this. They lost the person who was regulating their nervous system for them. Not metaphorically, literally. You weren't just available or kind or emotionally present. You were acting as an external stabilizer, a translator of emotions, and a grounding field. So when you disengaged, their system didn't just feel rejected, it lost equilibrium. When someone relies on you to regulate their emotions, your absence doesn't feel neutral to them, it feels destabilizing. And instead of recognizing, I don't know how to self-regulate, they experience panic, dysregulation, or an emotional free fall of sorts. That internal chaos gets misnamed as abandonment, attack, or cruelty because it's easier than having to face themselves. When people don't know how to regulate themselves, they often blame the person who used to do it for them when that regulation is no longer available. So the boundary becomes, from their perspective, you're hurting me, you're punishing me, you're attacking me. Not because there was actually any sort of attack, of course, but because their internal support system collapsed as a result. There's a difference between healthy co-regulation and one person being responsible for another person's emotional stability. What you were doing wasn't reciprocal, it wasn't shared, and it wasn't conscious. You were carrying weight that was never yours to carry. When you disengage, they either learn to regulate themselves or they try to force you back into the position. Attack is a control attempt. It's not always conscious, but it is definitely functional, or it can be. If they can guilt you, shame you, frame you as cruel, then they might be able to restore it and re-regulate themselves. This is where boundaries become necessary and not optional. Boundaries aren't aggression or actual attacks. They are refusal continuing to stabilize someone else's nervous system and taking care of your own.